how does yoga address cardiovascular disease, especially that cardiovascular disease that's related to stress? So stress-related heart disease, how does it do that? So let's talk briefly about our body's stress response, right? So you see the brain is really the boss of the central nervous system, and this is a spoiler alert, but your mind is the boss of the brain. So the mind and the brain are interrelated. They can't be separated, but they're not the same thing. So the brain is in charge of the central nervous system, the mind is the boss of the brain, and a functional part of the central nervous system is your autonomic nervous system. Now the brain doesn't interact with the environment directly, right? It's stuck in this black, watery box called your skull. So it takes in information both from your environment, but also from your body. When the brain perceives a threat or a stress, then one branch of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic branch, is activated, and a whole host of chemicals are released, including adrenaline, that prepare your body to mobilize, to move, to help someone, right? When the brain, gets a signal either from the body or from the environment that the coast is clear, then the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, and another set of chemicals are released, including acetylcholine, that helps bring the nervous system into balance, into homeostasis. So our sympathetic is our fight and flight, our parasympathetic is our rest and digest. It's what helps us sleep at night, it's what helps us dream, metabolize, repair. When these two systems are working together closely and optimally, we're at our best. We have the best impulse control, like David was talking about. We can regulate our emotions when we feel disrespected or left out. We can calmly assess the situation and choose our response rather than reacting. We perform better when these two systems are working optimally, and we have increased heart health. Now, our nervous system is designed to handle stress in the short term. As a matter of fact, not all stress is bad for you. There's some really great research out there called the upside of stress. You heard Bobby, if you were at the opening ceremonies today, talk about post-traumatic growth. So our nervous systems were designed to handle stress in the short term, and short-term stress can help us perform. The issue is when we are stuck in a sympathetic response over the long term, right, over the long haul. And this is, for people in your profession, you're vulnerable to being in a sympathetic response just by the very nature of shift work, of call volume, of getting, woken up in the middle of the night, the types of calls you go on. You are vulnerable to being in a sympathetic dominant response. But the reason why we're all vulnerable to being in a long-term or chronic stress response state is because 80% of the stressor we're responding to is psychological. It's traffic jams, it's money issue, it's family problems, relationship problems, right? The brain does not know the difference between an actual stress and a perceived stress. And so the thoughts, the mind, triggers a stress response in our body. So how do you know, whether or not your nervous system is working together optimally? Well, behavior is a key. If you're constantly reacting and feeling emotional, and your behavior is a key, but also there's something measurable called heart rate variability. How many people are familiar with this term? Okay. So heart rate variability, what it measures is it measures the fluctuation of your heart rate on an inhalation versus an exhalation. The sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system both affect your heart, right? So a stress response, heart speeds up. A relaxation response, heart rate slows down. When you inhale, heartbeat speeds up a little bit. You're in a sympathetic state. When you exhale, again, another spoiler alert, your heart rate slows down. The difference between that is what's called heart rate variability. It's measurable, and it's linked to heart health, and it's linked to longevity. And when we look at scans, heart rate variability scans for people who are dealing with chronic stress, the difference between the inhalation and the exhalation is very small. Also with people who have post-traumatic stress, they're suffering with post-traumatic stress. They have what's called low rate heart rate variability.